Welcome to the First Voice Podcast Deep Dive, where we are going to unpack some of the most intricate details in world football. And usually when you talk about a match, there's this underlying assumption, right? That the team with the ball is the team in control.
Right, yeah. It's basically the core philosophy of the modern game.
Yeah.
You pass, you move, you dictate the rhythm.
Exactly. But then you look at the 2026 UEFA Champions League Final, and that fundamental law is just completely turned on its head. I mean, we are looking at a match where one team had the ball for over 75% of the time.
Oh, easily.
And yet, for these incredibly long stretches, they looked like they were the ones trapped inside a cage.
It was a beautiful but utterly frustrating tactical paradox.
Yeah.
Like a paradox that took 120 minutes of just pure physical exhaustion and a penalty shootout to actually resolve.
Yeah, so if you're joining us for this deep dive, you probably already know the headline. Saint-Germain defeated Arsenal 4-3 on penalties after a 1-1 draw in Budapest, securing back-to-back Champions League titles.
Huge achievement for them.
Massive. But, we aren't here to just read you a box score. We've got a huge stack of sources here. Match reports, tactical breakdowns, plus a massive pile of transfer news from the past week that we're going to get into later.
Oh yeah, the transfer market is completely wild right now.
It never sleeps. But first, our mission is to give you a comprehensive understanding of what actually happened at the Puskas Arena. We're going to dissect the tactical contrasts, the extra time controversy, the psychology of that shootout, and, what this means for European football.
It's a lot to cover for sure.
Okay, let's unpack this, and I want to start right at the beginning. Because to understand how this devolved into this 120-minute war of attrition, we have to look at the tone set before the match even started.
We really do. I mean, the tactical extremity of this game started with Mikel Arteta's lineup. He took some incredibly risky gambles.
Like shocking gambles, honestly.
Right. You have to remember, they're facing the defending European champions. PSG has this terrifying world-class pace on the wings. And Arteta decides to start 19-year-old Miles Lewis-Skelly in central midfield. Which
is wild for a final. And he left a massively expensive, experienced guy like Martin Zubimendi just sitting on the bench.
Exactly. And on top of that, he throws Christian Musquera in at right back, basically just to try and match PSG's speed stride for stride.
Which feels like a huge roll of the dice. But then we hit minute 6, and the entire complexion of the game just shatters.
Yeah, out of nowhere. It comes from this rare moment of chaotic high pressing from Arsenal. Marquinhos tries to clear the ball out of the PSG third, but it careens right off Leandro Trossard.
Just a total pinball moment.
Yeah, and it falls perfectly into the path of Kai Havertz. He uses his pace, finds the open space, and he rifles the ball from a very tight angle into the roof of the net.
And wait, with that goal, Havertz joins some incredibly rare company, doesn't he? Like in the history of the sport.
Oh, extremely rare. He becomes only the third player in history to score in a Champions League final for 2 different clubs. He joins Cristiano Ronaldo and Mario Mandzukic.
Because he scored the winner for Chelsea back in 2021.
Right, so it was the absolute worst possible start for PSG. But strangely enough, that early goal completely dictated the rest of the night. Because the moment Arsenal went up 1-0, Arteta immediately pulled his team back into this really rigid 4-4-2 low block.
Okay, I want to spend a second on that low block. Because the stats here are honestly hard to wrap your head around. When we say low block, we mean Arsenal retreated deep, essentially shrinking the playable space, right?
Yeah, they turned the final third into this claustrophobic grid.
Right, and the numbers reflect that. PSG held 75.3% possession. That is a record, the highest possession stat in a Champions League final since records began.
It's insane.
But Arsenal's defense was so suffocating that PSG's keeper Matvei Safonov, he didn't make a single save in 120 minutes.
Not one.
He literally didn't make a save during the match or even in the shootout.
It's an astonishing statistical anomaly. You have 3/4 of the ball, but you can't test the opposing keeper even once.
Exactly. But on the flip side, just to look at Arsenal's offense, the data shows they generated an expected goals, or XG, of 0.01 from the second half through extra time.
Basically 0.
Yeah, for anyone unfamiliar, a 0.01 means a 1% chance of scoring based on historical data. They offered 0 attacking threat. It's like they built a massive bank vault, walked inside, and just locked the heavy steel door from the inside.
That's exactly what it looked like.
But I have to push back on the strategy. Is sitting back that early, like in the 6th minute, against a possession monster like PSG, is that a tactical masterstroke, or are you you just slowly orchestrating your own execution?
Well, what's fascinating here is the sheer audacity of the trade-off Arteta was willing to make. He looked at PSG's left flank, specifically the immense threat of Désiré Doué.
Right, who's been incredible.
He has. And Arteta decided that completely neutralizing that one player was worth sacrificing almost all of Arsenal's offense. And, to be fair to him, for the entire first half, it was flawless.
They totally shut him down.
They did. They used this double marking system. Piero Hincapié and Leandro Trossard brilliantly coordinated to just smother Doué every time he touched the ball.
So even with all that possession, PSG was just passing in a horseshoe shape around the box.
Exactly. Passing in a U shape, they couldn't penetrate the center. And any cross that did come in, William Saliba and Gabriel were just heading everything away.
So the bank vault was holding firm.
Perfectly.
All right.
By halftime, PSG had 0 shots on target.
But a bank vault is only good if the concrete can withstand constant pressure. And this brings up a crucial question about halftime adjustments.
Because possession eventually cracks any wall.
Right. So put yourself in Luis Enrique's shoes. You get into the dressing room. You have 75% of the ball, but no shots. How do you dismantle that structure?
Well, you have to change the speed of circulation. In the first half, PSG were way too methodical. Enrique realized that to break a compact 4-4-2, you have to attack the limits of human physiology.
Meaning you just make them run until their legs give out?
Basically, yeah. He told his players to whip the ball from flank to flank much faster. If you move it that fast, the defending team has to physically sprint to shift their block side to side.
And eventually the fatigue sets in.
Right, the biomechanics break down and someone is going to be a fraction of a second late.
Which is exactly what caught out Christian Mosquera.
Precisely. The fatigue showed. Vicha Kvaratskhelia initiates this lightning-fast 1-2 with Ousmane Dembélé isolating Mosquera. Mosquera's legs are heavy, he's a split second late, sticks a leg out in desperation, and brings Kvara down in the box.
The ref doesn't even hesitate, points right to the spot, and in the 65th minute, Dembélé steps up, sends David Raya the wrong way. 1-1.
So cold-blooded.
And our sources point out a wild stat here. That penalty was PSG's 45th Champions League goal of the season. That actually ties the all-time single-season record set by Barcelona back in 1999-2000.
Just a terrifying machine of a team. And that goal completely shattered the paradigm of the match. Arsenal suddenly had to open up.
Right, their whole plan was gone.
Yeah, Arteta pulls Mosquera off to avoid a red card, and then he makes this massive change. He takes off Martin Odegaard to bring on Victor Gyökeres, shifting to a more direct attack.
But removing Odegaard, that felt like it broke Arsenal's ability to cope. I look at it like removing a pressure valve.
Yeah.
He's the guy who can receive the ball under duress, hold it for a few seconds, and let his defenders catch their breath.
That is a perfect analogy. Without him absorbing that heat, they couldn't get out of their own half.
PSG just kept coming in waves. Kvaratskhelia hit the post later on. But, you have to credit Arsenal's resilience. They dragged it into extra time.
Which is where the physical exhaustion turned into pure emotional combustion.
Oh man, let's talk about the 103rd minute, because this was the controversy of the match. Noni Madueke goes down heavily in the PSG box under a challenge from Nuno Mendes.
The whole Arsenal bench erupts.
Absolutely loses it. But the ref waves play on. VAR doesn't intervene. Arteta is losing his mind on the touchline. Declan Rice is screaming at the ref, and they both get yellow cards.
It was chaos. The game nearly boiled over right there.
I want your honest, objective read on this. If the shirts were swapped, if Dembélé went down like that at the Emirates, does the ref point to the spot? Is there some subconscious bias favoring the established giants here?
It's fair to ask. And that narrative set social media on fire instantly. But if we look at the replays objectively, separated from the emotion, Madueke actually initiated the contact.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was pulling Mendes' arm first to gain leverage, which made Mendes lose his balance and clumsily fall into him. Was it an ugly collision? Yes. Was it a clear and obvious error by the referee? Most objective analysts and VAR said no.
But in the heat of a final, the objective reality almost doesn't matter. It's the player's perception that counts.
And that is the true impact of that moment, the psychological toll. Arsenal felt robbed. When you're 100 minutes in, your legs feel like concrete, you need total focus just to pass a ball.
And they diverted all that energy into anger.
Exactly. They lost their focus.
And that emotional drain perfectly sets the stage for the ultimate psychological theater. After 120 minutes of torture, the tactics are done. You transition to penalties.
The purest, most brutal tests of nerve in sports.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. I look at shootouts like a high-stakes staring contest where your legs are made of lead. All the tactics just evaporate.
It's just you and a ball 12 yards away.
So can a player actually practice for that, or is it truly just a coin flip?
Well, you can practice the biomechanics on a quiet Tuesday in training, sure, but you absolutely cannot replicate the physiological state. Your heart is at 180 beats per minute, 70,000 people are screaming, and the weight of history is on you.
It's entirely mental.
Completely. And this is exactly where PSG had a massive edge.
Because they've lived in that chaos, right?
Yeah, coming into this, PSG had already won the UEFA Super Cup, the Intercontinental Cup, and the French Champions Trophy this season, all via penalty shootouts.
Wow.
They knew how to regulate their breathing, how to handle that silence before the whistle.
Meanwhile, Arsenal is dealing with shifted variables. Arteta said he studied penalty takers for 72 hours, but by the shootout, Saka, Ødegaard, and Havertz were all subbed off.
So guys who aren't primary takers have to step up.
Which brings us to Ebereki Eze's miss. The stutter step penalty.
Highly controversial.
Yeah, he tries this hesitation run-up, holds it a fraction too long, loses momentum, and drags it wide. Owen Hargreaves on the broadcast ripped into him, saying you can't try something that cute under pressure.
But then Jack Wilshere defended him.
Right, Wilshere pointed out that's his standard routine in training every single time.
And they're both making valid points, but talking past each other. Wilshere is right that you should stick to your routine, but Hargreaves is pointing to cognitive overload.
Right.
A stutter step requires immense fine motor control. When you're flooded with adrenaline, hesitation is the enemy of execution. It was just too much for his brain to process in that state.
And speaking of pressure, it all falls on Gabriel Magalhaen's for the 5th penalty, Arsenal's rock. He skies it over the crossbar, pure heartbreak, and then Lucas Beraldo slots his home to seal it 4-3 for PSG.
It's devastating for Gabriel. Arsenal wouldn't have reached the final without him. That's the cruelty of the shootout. It isolates one player's failure in a team sport.
Arsenal becomes the first English club ever to lose a European final shootout to a foreign side.
And you have to look the system Luis Enrique built at PSG to understand their calm. They used to be the Galactico club.
Oh, yeah, massive egos everywhere.
But Enrique dismantled that. He wanted a collective resilience. He didn't want players who felt the burden to be the savior. He wanted absolute trust in the system. And they looked like a cohesive machine taking those penalties.
Which perfectly sets up the aftermath. Let's zoom out from Budapest and look at the broader landscape of European football, because there is so much moving right now. Let's start with Arsenal. How do you process this?
Arteta was visibly gutted, but his message was turn pain into fuel. You know, they just secured their first Premier League title in 22 years.
Right. Ending a huge drought.
So he has to ensure they use this trauma as a psychological foundation for next year.
And PSG cements a modern dynasty. Back-to-back titles. The first since Real Madrid's three-peat in 2018. Enrique joins guys like Zidane, Guardiola, and Ancelotti in that elite managerial tier.
He fundamentally rewired their DNA. And they won 5 trophies this season.
Dominance. But, you know, while this history is happening, the football world refuses to stop spinning. We promised you a transfer roundup, and the past week has been absolutely bonkers.
Oh, it really has. It's a massive arms race.
Exactly. Let's start with Liverpool, because that's a huge shifting of the guard. Arne Slot is officially out after 2 seasons, and Andoni Iraola is the heavy favorite to take over.
Which is a brilliant tactical fit, honestly. But Iraola, if he gets the job, is going to inherit a very different squad.
A depleted one, yeah.
Yeah.
We're seeing a mass exodus of legends there. Ibrahima Konate is leaving after contract talks collapsed.
That's a huge loss for their defense.
And it follows Mo Salah and Andrew Robertson deciding to leave too. Robertson actually just agreed to join Tottenham next season.
Which is an incredible piece of business for Spurs. And Tottenham aren't stopping there. They also grabbed Marco Senesi on a 4-year free transfer from Bournemouth.
Right, shoring up that back line. And speaking of defenders moving, Nicolas Otamendi is heading to River Plate for free after leaving Benfica, and Kieran Trippier is back in the Premier League.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Joining Wolves on a 2-year free deal after leaving Newcastle.
Newcastle is making moves of their own, though. Or, well, selling at least. Anthony Gordon heading to Barcelona is a massive statement.
80 million euros, signed until June 2031. Barca is spending big again.
And AC Milan might have a huge problem on their hands because Rafael Leão just told management he wants out this season.
Oh man, the bidding war for him is going to be insane. Plus, we've got managerial shakeups everywhere. Domenico Tedesco is taking over Bologna after Vincenzo Italiano left.
A really interesting project for Tedesco.
And AZ Monaco just signed Felipe Luis to a 2-year deal. He's been crushing it as a young coach in Brazil.
Monaco loves betting on bright, young, tactical minds.
They do. And finally, Chelsea grabbed Valentin Barco from their parent club, Strasbourg, which is wild because he just made Argentina's final squad for the 2026 World Cup.
Yeah, Chelsea's multi-club model is really starting to funnel talent upwards. It just underlines the brutal reality of modern football, right? There's absolutely no off-season.
None. The moment a trophy is lifted, preparation for the next campaign begins. So bringing this all together, what does this all mean for the listener who, maybe doesn't support PSG or Arsenal? Why does this match matter for the future of football?
Well, if we connect the tactical dots to this crazy transfer market we just talked about, this final is a masterclass in modern team building. It proves that an elite defense can take you to the brink of glory.
Right, you can frustrate anyone for 120 minutes.
But ultimate European glory requires deep, adaptable squad depth. PSG brought on subs who flawlessly fit their system. Arsenal's subs, driven by exhaustion, weaken their structure.
Yeah.
And all this transfer news is just the ongoing arms race.
Yeah.
Every club realizes that to compete, you need a squad of 20 elite players who can execute complex tactics under immense pressure.
It's truly survival of the deepest squad. Well, what an incredible journey this deep dive has been. From Arsenal's defensive bank vault to the controversy of extra time, the psychological theater of the penalties, and the absolute chaos of the summer transfer window.
It tested every metric of what makes a team truly elite.
But I want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to mull over. For years, PSG was the poster child for the Galactico era, spending astronomical sums on massive individual superstars, and they repeatedly failed to win the Champions League. Yet almost immediately after clearing out those egos and trusting Luis Enrique's rigid collective philosophy, they win back-to-back titles.
It's a huge paradigm shift.
So here's the question you have to ask yourself. Is the era of buying individual superstars officially dead, replaced entirely by the era of the system? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it helped cut through the noise. Keep asking questions, keep looking beyond the box score, and stay insanely curious. We'll catch you next time.